Hi all. Sneezer is here, Robert Harrison is here, Ariel Marshall is here, and maybe someone else as well. Okay. This is good. All right, here, wait, let's see. It's Thursday, yes. And it's the end of a work week. Just waiting for myself to pop up here, and we'll get going. Here I am. I'm live, even on the monitor, which means that it's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. And last night was a fun experiment, going straight with the chat. A couple of people said that they want to see it that way. A couple of people said they want to see it the old way. I think I'm going to go with the old way right now at any rate. Now, there are some questions, the comments rather, from last night, from Tuesday, from Monday, and
so
good, and comments in the chat. Some more pro-Palestinians in the comments the last day or two, which I'm happy to contend with, I suppose, right? Trolls and such, rarely people who actually back up their claims with anything. Shalom HN and all. Hello, Blood Nose. Good to see you. So I will continue from yesterday. Might as well go with yesterday. I don't know if I'll go one by one or pick different things at random from yesterday. I don't know. Did I get you people who were watching, who were also watching perhaps last night?
It was the same shirt.
Yes, I know. You people watching now who may have watched last night, what was your experience with it? Is there anything specific that you saw pop up in the chat that you would want me to address at all? I'll either look for it or you simply ask it again. So yeah, I said in the beginning, Sneezer, Robert, Ariel, Bloodnose are here. Good to see you. Good to see you. It's the end of a work week, and I have some lemon tea.
I have some. Me too.
Yes, but you don't have lemon. Ha ha ha. Okay. Oh, you too. Hey, Pa. Shalom, shalom. So Wednesday, let's see. The Messianic Era. Taylor 26 answered a Tejas, replied to a comment. Let's see. Temple should be made by Jews for return of Jesus, Nezer. That's what he said. And then Taylor responded saying, I don't think the red heifer will be sacrificed, since he was talking about the red heifer before. I don't think the red heifer will be sacrificed, and I don't think it's necessary for the Messianic era to begin. Taylor says it's not necessary because we're simply not at that time, according to you, Taylor? Or, well, I don't know if you're still here or if you're watching later, but this is him from yesterday. But let's consider that. He's answering, I don't think the red heifer will be sacrificed, and I don't think it's necessary for it to begin. So by necessary means, maybe it's along the same things that I think, maybe not, that the Messianic era, the king, the anointed one, the temple, ritual worship and sacrifice and everything that goes with it can be skipped over, let's say. And again, not in the way of a shortcut, not in a way of shirking responsibility or anything, in a way which is true and honest, a time when we are able to get ourselves together and understand that we, right, or that original temple, that original dwelling of the image of God, and right, it won't be priests and Levites and Israelites and nations, right? It will be one unified human race. We don't need a king necessarily to do that. Not necessarily. Though there are prophecies who speak of a different era. Whether or not it necessitates a human being to be acting and embodying that attribute of malchut, of kingship, of kingdom. Taylor continued, Messianic era is soon, though, in our lifetimes. Just be patient for it, though. So it's not necessary, but it nonetheless is soon enough in our lifetime. Be patient for it, though. Right? One of the 13 principles of faith brought down by Maimonides is the last one, right? Is I believe in the coming of the Messiah, and even though he may tarry, I shall expect him or wait for him at any day to come. B'chol yom sheyavo. Ani ma'amin beviat HaMashiach. The idea of belief in the Anointed One is one of the Maimonides' principles of faith. These are not strict halacha. You don't break any rabbinic law, I think, by not expecting Messiah, the Anointed One. It's certainly part of Orthodox Judaism, and other sects. But I think that more than that, it teaches that it's not a necessity. Right? Before we were kicked out of Eden, there was no separation. There were no kings, right? There were no human kings. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. So Nezer says, it is the women who chose what men lead by their attention which all men crave. I'm only assuming that in the chat at the time, you guys were talking about Adam and Eve. I'm not sure. Waza, says BMXers. So Nezer says, let no one say the Lord tarries, he waits for the last who will repent. Where's the quote from? Could you tell me? Amen, says Robert Harrison. Good to see you. Oh, wait, you were already here? Yes, you were. My bad. Either way, good to see you. Robert and Paula Harrison sent me things in the Netherlands, and one of them was a mug, and a t-shirt, and a couple of sweatshirts, and the mug was broken, but I do still have the t-shirts. The one that says Shalom, the t-shirt, I wear it. The sweatshirts, which have God's name on them, I keep sort of double bagged and safe for a time where I may be moved to wear them, because I may, well, to put it on as a garment, that's something that I'm not totally against, but I don't think I haven't been moved to do so. It would seem a little presumptuous, sort of, with some hubris, some pride in there. And, right, our sages teach 1 in 60th of pride for a scholar or a sage. And I'm neither of those things, but I still take the advice. Tea time, hello. It is tea time, indeed. So Nezer says, I'm looking for it. The quote. Okay, cool. He waits for the last who will repent. Well, I'll tell you, in these days, not these days, but the previous days of the days between the straits, Tisha B'Av, mourning and exile, destruction, infighting. There was a tarry. The Lord did indeed tarry for the people of Judah, of Israel, the Israelites, to repent. And eventually, each in their own time, the kingdom of Israel with Assyria, the kingdom of Judah with Babylon, each in their own time had prophets coming to them saying, this is what's going to happen. Repent. Maybe for a time they did. It wasn't enough. Different righteous people, prophets, good kings, they also stood for Israel. But eventually, as it says, it wasn't enough. The anger was so great. The Israelites had stirred with their actions such a revelation of anger, of avenging of the covenant, right? Cherev nokemet nekam brit, the sword that takes revenge, the covenant of vengeance, or a vengeance of the covenant. It's that place where evil is allowed to manifest and to take hold. And the good deeds, the good people, the good kings, the righteous, the prophets, the fine, innocent, pious, let's say, in the positive way, men and women of ancient Israel, it just wasn't enough. They had stirred up so much chaos that it had to just take them over for a time. Hello from Albania. Hello, Arsen Kuko. Is it Kuko or Kyuko? I'd love to know. What say you? What's going on in Albania? What was today's main headline in Albania in the news? If you don't mind sharing. In general culture, what are people up at arms about in Albania? I'd like to know. Or for lack of that, what was the headline or a couple of headlines from today's news in Albania? Does anyone walk around naked on Shabbat and eat fruit pretending to be in Gan Eden? I don't know of such a practice or custom, and that would be acting out Eden, and it would be an appropriate time to do it on Shabbos. But I think we're not quite there yet. I am not quite there yet, though I do love being nude. But I haven't done that on Shabbat and eaten fruit pretending it to be the fruit of the tree of life. I haven't done that. Who knows, maybe sometime I will. Beloved, says Sneezer, do not let this one thing escape your notice. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, right, from the Psalms, and 1,000 years are like a day. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness, but is patient with you, quotes Sneezer, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar. Eiler is here. Hello, Eiler. Well, that is quite a quote. From where? The New Testament? I'll tell you. Don't let it escape your notice. Right? Elef shanim be'einecha kiyom etmol ki ya'avor, as it says in the Psalms. 1,000 days in your eyes are like a day. Eiler is here. Good evening, he says. Satya Aryan, welcome back. Hello, good to see you. Good to see you. Jesse as well is in the house. Peace and blessings, everyone. God willing, we need peace and blessings. Brutal Impact, why are you obsessed with a book? I think, well, thank you for saying that I'm obsessed. I would love the Torah to occupy even more of my time, even more of my mind, even more of my waking and sleeping hours. An obsession has a negative sort of connotation to it, seeing as it's also a kind of mental condition. If I'm obsessed with it, I'd like to think that even if there is some negativity to it, I try to keep the negativity in check and be aware of it. And I pay more heed and attention, let's say, to the good parts of the book. Consciously, I cherry pick. I'm a cafeteria Hebrew. I take what I want and I make no excuses. So, that's what I have to say about that. That's why I think that's why. It's a symbol of a covenant that I hold very dear and near. Several covenants, actually. And their origin is in these texts. And even if we say that it's all fairy tales, nonsense, hogwash, it still has survived for thousands of years for a reason. And part of my duty in life, as a Hebrew man anyway, is to find how I connect to it and find what that reason is for me personally. Whether I do it through a congregation, whether I do it simply through my own thing. Torah occupies Israel, says BMXers.
BMXers?
BMXers with dreadlocks, man. Well, can one even choose one's obsession? I think that to some degree it might start very small and then perhaps turn into a mental condition, in which case it can be when you start with something and you simply fall down a rabbit hole and it's very difficult to climb back up, if at all. I have now officially become a Muslim. Good for you. I hope that your path leads you in righteousness and in truth back to the tree of life, along with the rest of us. Tell us, I promise you the Torah is what? Is not true, is true. I can't tell because I've got something here that's blocking. Wait, hold on. Can I open up the window? No, I can't open up the chat window. I'll just have to wait. Oh, I promise you the Torah is true, he says. Okay. Fourth, John said, Sneezer, God is love is my favorite besides the gospel. Besides the Fourth John? Isn't John 1 of the gospel? Let's see if I remember them offhand, because I used to know it from Ned Flanders. Okay. Mark, Paul, Luke, and John? Is that it? Did I get the 4? I remember Ned Flanders does it. You've probably skipped over 5 comments of mine now. Hey, you know what? John is of the gospel keys, but John 1:4 are not. Gospel keys? Or am I misreading it? Sneezer, what do you mean? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I said Paul. No, Paul comes later. Right. Okay. Vayikra, says Robert Harrison. You're in Leviticus. Yon.
We asked none.
I asked about Mashiach. Please answer questions. Tea Time said, what did he say? Let's look for it. Please look back. Please look back. And I'm looking. And I'm searching. I don't see a question about Mashiach. Do you mind writing it again? Oh, here. In the days of HaMashiach, the king, is he going to be absolute monarch, or can the Goyim have peace and freedom to worship as they want? So, here's what I'm thinking. First of all, there's a difference between anointed kings and the final Messiah, at least according to some opinions. Right, because you have a king that's simply a king from any tribe of Israel who's crowned to be king and is Mashiach by definition, anointed. And even if he is not physically anointed, because sometimes it could pass from father to son, even if he's not physically anointed, he is nicknamed, let's say, right? He's called anointed. Oi, you guys, please. No, we're doing this again, precisely the same thing, only separate directions. No, excuse me. You. Take your feet away. Both of you take your legs away. You too. Thank you. Please don't cross borders and don't tease each other. Thank you. Okay. So, and HaMashiach, if you're talking about that final Messiah, which according to, well, let's put it that way. If and when there is a final Messiah, a last one, before we all come together as one, if before that there are simply kings who are anointed and who are king monarch, I would say yes, eventually, okay? But then it won't be at that point Goyim and Israel. It will be one unified human race. That's how I see it. That's what I see the final Messiah being about. And there is always, of course, the Rambam and others who say that there is nothing between these days and the days of the Messiah. The only difference is that Israel will not be under the thumb of the nations. We'll be able to lead our own life as we please. Yemot HaMashiach, days of Messiah. Even though there is no practical, physical Messiah right now that is accepted by the general population. You have people who claim to be Messiah and are accepted by their, by those who follow them. So, but yes, peace and freedom to worship as they want. I see that final absolute monarchy of the King Messiah to be something where, right, God will already have poured His Spirit upon all flesh, as it says in the book of Yoel, and like in Jeremiah, we won't need to ask, where is God? It will all be obvious. It will all be very obvious to us. The filters and the different screens which filter out that great light, we will come to such a place where they will be able to be bit by bit taken away, or all at once, who's to say? So that was from Tea Time. I hope I didn't answer your question, but I hope I addressed it at any rate. I meant the final Mashiach. Some people might like to continue worship God according to conscience. Right, so like I say, at that point, as far as I'm concerned, we'd have come to that part where it's not Goyim and Israel. And we would be able to worship God according to conscience, because our conscience and our consciousness will be of such a level that it will be possible to do exactly that, without the strife, without the fighting, without the battles, the war, the taking over, the persecutions. It won't be religion. It won't be organized religion. It would be that simple revelation of divinity through mankind, no more, no less. I see it as something very, very simple, that over time and, well, let's put it this way, the psychedelic experience, substance-induced and not, I'll put it a different way. If somebody says, I've received prophecy, the Lord spoke to me, I received prophecy, I think most of your everyday folk in that person's community, likely, they would doubt it and they would say no. In some places they would lock him up, perhaps. I think we would come to a point where if somebody says, I've had a revelation, I've attained spirit of prophecy, there won't be any doubt. We'll be able to see it, we'll be able to know it, we'll be able to distinguish it and discern it, and everything will be very, very plain and clear. Just like it's seriously clear to all of us watching now that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and that the moon will rise in the evening, the sun will rise in the morning. These are things that have a cyclic nature. And another thing that has a cyclic nature is that divine revelation, expanding and contracting, fractaling in and out, and we will be able to manipulate those channels through which it is carried into the world and widen those channels with our actions, which means that we'll be able to necessitate less filters and less screens. And that says everything eventually. I wasn't planning on it, says Jesse, until I saw Muhammad, peace be upon him, in a dream. The thing is, even the Quran says the Jews are God's chosen people. Yes. El Dhimmi, right? The people of the book. It'll be more like we naturally agree on most things, said Sennheiser. Right. No more misunderstandings. Yes, to speak your language, Sennheiser. No more misunderstandings. Things will be understandable and on greater levels than before. Well, Tea Time says, can Christians stay Christian? I read the from sources, from meaning religious in Yiddish. The from sources, there will be a change in everyone's mind. All will either be Noahide or keep Torah. Sounds like to me not much of a choice. Hey, CR7 is back. Good to see you, CR7. Bringing it, coming in hot.
CR7?
Yeah, CR7.
Woo.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I said, God pouring his spirit upon all flesh. You can see that as everybody will need to be a Hebrew man or woman. But generally speaking, that's not what we see in Torah, and it's not what we see in the Bible. So, hey CR7.
Goat.
Christians don't need churches to be Christian, only Christ. Right, something like that. What Christians might call Christ consciousness, if I'm borrowing it, because I don't know how they mean it when they say it. If I'm borrowing the term for you followers of Jesus out there. It's that consciousness, right? And like Chabad have, lehavdil, right, in a different way. They have with the Rebbe and with that idea of the days of the Messiah are now. They are as soon as we want them to be. That is the consciousness we need to be living. That is the kind of life we need to be living, to be living. And, of course, for the Chabadnikim, by and large, staying within the constraints, the very narrow constraints of Hasidism and Halacha of Chabad. Thank you, CR7. You flatter me. Okay. Oh, I love you too, CR7. Got you right here. Most Christians don't use the term Christ consciousness. It's more New Age, though also what Jesus had planned. It's just most Christians don't even know it. Oh, so you do agree with me that it's that kind of me borrowing it is actually the right way to borrow it. John, hello John, says, the power comes from the Holy Spirit of God, and through Jesus can we accomplish anything great. We cannot earn righteousness. It's by the grace of God, bless the Lord and Savior. Well, I think it's both. Rav Kook brings a wonderful thing in the lights of returning, the lights of repentance, Orot HaTshuva, and he says that when a person does not accept responsibility for his sins, he carries that burden alone, a heavy load usually, because we miss the mark all the time. I know I do. However, when you accept full responsibility for your sins, for your transgressions, your wrongdoings, times when you miss the mark, and you come to the deep and honest understanding that no one else really is to blame but you. Some things might be unjust. Chaos rules in the world sometimes. But you come to the conclusion that regardless of that, you're going to take it on yourself. The yoke of everything that you've been through. In that moment precisely, that moment is the moment where you can also be liberated from it. Because then it's sort of God wanted it this way. Which is something that you ought not always say before, not always. But once you accept full responsibility, or responsibility to the degree that you can under your own circumstances, in the right time and place, in that moment you are able to gather strength, because there's the counterpart to that. And that counterpart is, I accept all the wrong things that I've done, and I know I can do better. And I will strive to do better. And I will act in the world in such a way where I will be liberating myself by the grace of God from this heavy burden. And so once you accept responsibility, you also sort of abdicate it, if you will, and say that it's God who did it all. Kol ma'asenu pa'alta lanu, from Yeshaya, from Isaiah, I think. So we cannot earn righteousness? I disagree. I think that we can earn righteousness, and it's also by the grace of God. So I agree with you to some extent. Am I blocked, says BMXers? No, you're not blocked. I'm just not reading one by one. I guess spontaneously I'm doing kind of what I did last night. Can I get your number? Sorry, that might be where I draw the line, but feel free to hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to talk to you. However, I must say that if you spam, then repeatedly, then then I will have to block you. But I've only blocked one person in
Who?
It's this dude who was basically a Nazi. Free Vietnam, Vin Din says. Is Vietnam in the middle of any kind of a war, or is it still communist? Is Vietnam still communist? It's such a shame that I don't know that. Interesting. No, I think it is at least part communist, but I don't think it's under Free Vietnam. Van Din, can you clarify? I'm not sure what you mean. Divineful says, you are a god. Chat, you just have amnesia. That's an interesting way to look at it. That's a very interesting way to look at it. Ella is here. Sir Smokes-A-Lot is here. Once again, welcome back. Oh, he called me sweetheart. CR7. Now you're just making me blush in the middle of my own live stream. Okay. What? You like it? You don't like it?
No.
You don't like it? It's cringe?
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm mirroring something to him.
No.
Okay. That's why I'm doing it. No, we are all parts of God, Sneezer says to Divine. No one complete while inside time. Your consciousness is low, Sneezer. Well, come on, Divineful, what are you basing that on? Two quick interactions in the middle of a chat on YouTube. That's what you're I mean, what is it? How did you reach that conclusion? I'm not necessarily saying you're right or wrong, because who am I to say, but on what are you basing that? Yes, okay, cool. Divineful, nice one.
LOL.
Where's Danielle Hurwitz tuna fish? On the couch. What, Danielle, what is it? I think maybe refrain from addressing him, or maybe I'll just not read it. There you go, you can address him, but I might not read it. He pulled a face. Yon, please look back at my comment on Chabad and please share your thoughts. To accept and receive Kabbalah, isn't that what that means? Kabbalah, to accept and receive, yes. Kabbalah literally means to receive. Okay, let's see. Many loving prayers for you and your family, says Sir Smokes-A-Lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. right back at you. It's nice to get such words on a Thursday night. Okay, let's see. What did tea time say? What did tea time say? What did tea time say? Where is he? Oh, okay. No? Stay Christian? Okay.
What?
I think I read. Wait, did I miss one of tea time's? Maybe it got blocked? Tea time, I don't see anything past what you already said. So either type it again, copy paste, or point me to where it is. The coolest experience, says Damon Phillips, the coolest experience I ever felt in my life is the first hit of crack. Hey, no doubt, some drugs are man-made drugs and synthetic drugs, natural drugs. Some of them are just so unbelievably potent that people chase that high for the rest of their lives, and they waste time and money and energy and resources. They tend to become less than ideal in how they treat themselves and others, chasing that first high. So the question is, Damien, the coolest experience you ever felt was that first hit on the crack pipe. I'm assuming, was it a pipe? However, I hope you are not one of those who are chasing that high, and that the coolest experiences you have, why they manifest themselves all the time to you day to day in a flower and the breeze and a sunset and the smile of a loved one. Those are also cool experiences. Brian Gilly, are the Zionist Jews a problem in your opinion, sir? They are a problem for those who consider them a problem. Do I consider them a problem? I do not. However, I will say this. Growing up Zionist in modern Orthodoxy in Jerusalem, and being a modern Orthodox for about 25 years, keeping pretty strict halacha throughout. Some of the time, more or less. I will say that the political, religious parties, and parties means to part, it means division. In Hebrew, it's called miflaga, from the root word of division, pei lamed gimel, that which divides. And some of the politics that I saw, some of the platforms that I read many years ago, and the behavior, the mindset, some of the people were so enamored with the Zionist dream in a physical, material, land sort of way, that I believed at the time, and I still believe to some degree, maybe a large degree, it came at the expense of the spiritual Zionism, which, yes, also has to do with the physical land, no doubt, but which ought to take precedence, which would be even if Zionism, modern-day Zionism, because Zionism is thousands of years old, right, it's written in the Torah, we will come back, it's the covenant. Even if modern-day Zionism was started as a secular movement out of the Enlightenment and the desire to return, not religiously but historically, to our homeland, there were many religious Zionists, and in some way, you do need to build, let's say, a physical structure before you imbue it with the Spirit, right? Like in creation. However, there was a chance also to take whatever land we had, not expand, not even for security reasons, let's say. There was a chance to focus less on the settlements. Less. I'm not going to say cut it out completely, because what do I know? I'm not a military analyst or strategist. But to do perhaps less there, and perhaps focus more on that spiritual root of Zionism, and what repentance means, and what atonement means, and why it is that we are here. And maybe we didn't have that luxury. We're all post-traumatic here in this land. Everybody. So my idea is, are they a problem? They are a problem for those who consider them a problem. They have, and I consider myself a Zionist Jew. There are times where we totally miss the mark and perhaps focus too much on the material, physical Zionism while not giving enough attention as a people, as a nation, to the spiritual Zionism. And because I don't want to be just talking out of my ass, I'll clarify. That same Zionism that's written in the Torah, where, right, we will be exiled because of our deeds, because of the Sabbath of the land, because we cheat and steal and fight with each other, worship false gods, worship God in false ways. And eventually, if it continues, we will be kicked out. And we were. And we will make a comeback, the Torah says. Even if we are left only a few, we will make a comeback back to the land of our fathers. Repent. And this is a call to repent to the children of Israel, right? Coming back here with secular modern-day Zionism, the kibbutzim, the settlement. People call it colonial settlement. You can't be a colonialist in your own homeland. You can't be a conqueror, or you can reconquer, but you can't be a colonial settler, conqueror in your own homeland. You can't be a land stealer in your own homeland. Of course, you can be a land stealer. Generally speaking, with the people of Israel being in the ancient land of Israel, like that. I'm sure there are many who stole things. People do horrible things on both sides of this conflict, ever since the push towards Zionism was rekindled and the groups started to show up. But, and with this I'll finish on your question on Zionism. Even before 1948, all you have to do is look a few decades before. Jews were being persecuted by the Arab/Muslim population here. It had nothing to do with 48, 67, 73. None of that. It had nothing to do with the UN or a partition plan. The Hebron massacre of 1929, that didn't happen in the state of Israel. That didn't happen behind any green line. That didn't happen in any place that was occupied by Israel. The Ottomans, the Mandate.
You missed a lot.
Yeah, I missed a lot. I'm sort of doing it. I'm kind of doing it again like last night. Allah says, Bruce Lee said, be like water, smile. Yeah, right, the Tao Te Ching. I mentioned this the other day. I love what the Tao Te Ching says about the Tao being like water, which takes any shape that it dwells in. And it resides even in the lowest of places without asking any honor or dignity. Or places which don't offer much honor or dignity. Water is there too. It comes from on high to the lowest point possible. That's why it's chesed. That's why it's the right hand, the chamsa, the hand that's always giving, the hand that's always open. Of course, you need to keep that in check with the left. Damian Phillips says, I can swallow 2 hot dogs whole at the same time without chewing. You must be quite the talent. I suggest that you start a YouTube channel based completely on you putting different things down your throat, of course with due caution and medical preparation. If someone close by to perform the Heimlich maneuver. But I also think it might mean that your esophagus is damaged. So unless you were sort of building up to it, right? You start with a small little sausage, and then you take a larger sausage, and then you take an even larger sausage, right? Because hot dogs, well, wait, are we talking about tiny little supermarket, chicken byproduct hot dogs? Or are we talking about those 100% all beef monsters that are like 30 centimeters long? What are you talking about? Because you've got me all excited now with the hot dogs.
That's giant.
Yes, it is. So if you can swallow 2 of those, I think you have quite a bright future in a certain industry.
Giant,
yes, in a very enlarged esophagus. I would get medical attention either way. But if there's a doctor that's following the process and is encouraging you, giving you the right advice at the right time, why, you go right ahead and swallow those sausages. Tea Time says, Yon, in days of King Mashiach, King the Anointed One, the Goyim will have to keep Noahide laws or suffer penalty of death, according to Chabad and Talmud. This is what I mean by no free will for Goyim. Okay. It could very well be that there will be a transition period. But I don't know how that would turn out. So I'm reluctant to say, to give my opinion. I'll know it when it happens, and unfortunately I can't speak of anything until that. I will say my opinion, which is that only people in the land of Israel, if it's under Israel rule, sovereignty, and kingship, if it's back to being the kingdom of Israel with an anointed king, either. Now wait. This is according to Hasidism and Talmud, meaning that it has a Talmudic, rabbinic Orthodox origin and a Hasidic origin, also stemming of the Talmud, out of the Talmud. I don't think that what is written there this is definitely how it's going to be. It's according to Chabad and probably an opinion in the Talmud, because the Talmud is opinions to do with halacha. Let's not forget, even though there are many anecdotes and teachings in the Talmud, Babylonian and Jerusalem alike, the prime directive of the physical Talmud, spiritually, it has a different root. It has a corresponding root, which may not be so dual, right, with no duality or more. But the Talmud is essentially the interpretations of the Mishnah and the codifying of halacha. Of we have this opinion, that opinion. They each have verses, right, from the Bible, right, from Torah, from the different parts of the Bible, which correspond and sort of align with what they are saying. They're bringing it as a way to buttress their claim, their opinion of what halacha ought to be. And halacha is X. Right, the Mishnah, right? They bring the Mishnah, matnitin. We read in the Mishnah this and this and this. Let's discuss what is halacha in this case, because sometimes the opinions are of the different Tanaim, the Mishnah scholars, and the Amoraim, the Talmudic scholars, are debating the different opinions. So it's a book of halacha in a material way, physically speaking. It's a book of halacha and of coming to rabbinic law, coming to a consensus on what it is that the mainstream folk ought to follow. And in that case, I don't see that it necessarily has to come to pass. I don't see that it necessarily has to manifest that way. My opinion would be that from an Orthodox perspective, if it's in the land of Israel and people want to worship foreign gods, they can't do that here. That's what the Torah says. And I go with the Torah, primarily. In the rest of the world, no. From what I know, the Torah never mentions another world, right? Not as such. It mentions Eden, it mentions Sheol, but it doesn't mention other worlds as such, with that word Olam. At least if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I think. Even as only a transitionary period, I wouldn't be in favor of simply slaughtering everybody and taking away their free will. Because I'm not God. John Woodmass is here. Hello, John. Sissy, what the heck? Sissy, I'm glad you're here. You have absolutely no idea what I've been going through with CR7. Okay. 3 for emphasis. 3 for emphasis. Have you... Wait. Hope you have looked. John Woodmass. Israelite Bible shows us we are on flat earth and probably living in the year 5000. Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Whenever the Bible or the Torah speak of the corners of the earth, it's corresponding to a spiritual way of viewing the world. I'm quite certain that even though it's not explicitly written that it's round, though it is written in the Zohar. And as for, right, so I'm not sure where you see we are on flat earth according to the Bible, because everything to do with, let's say, the firmament, everything to do with separation, you can look at it physically, yes. But if you look at it physically, you can see that, I don't know, a light was created. There was light and dark, day and night, but the sun and the moon were only on the 4th day. So it's that type of thing. These all have corresponding spiritual roots, which are supposed to teach us something about how we are creating our lives here, as an example. So if you're talking about, let's say, things that are written in the Bible about the physical dimensions and the physical appearance of the world, it's not a history book, and it's not a science book, and it's not an academic book. It could be all of those things as well, but it's primarily something with a spiritual root coming in physical form, right? A book, a scroll, in order to teach you something primarily about yourself and where you are in this story of creation. You, as the image of God, or ideally the image of God, have to play your part as co-creator. You are co-showrunner in this shindig. So, right, Torah, commandments. And this is obviously, without denying, yes, physical things exist in the Torah. Physical, practical commandments that are carried out as such exist in the Torah. When it comes to the more ancient stories, like of creation, if we take that as evidence, and some do, as the world being flat, but please tell me, where do you see evidence, chapter and verse, book, if you can, even one or two? I'll gladly, not debate you, because what do I know, but I'll gladly discuss it. Yeah. Okay, let's see, where were we? We are going down. The sun was the first god, says Brian Gilly. Well, many ancients worship the sun because, right, it's the giver of life, and it's right, we're not nocturnal creatures. The sun rises, right? The sun is associated. Oi, what did I say? Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Go on. Go on. Please do so now. Please, away with your legs, both of you. Thank you. Thank you. Please don't put your legs there. Hey Jen, says Tea Time, please look at my comments and questions on God and gods. Okay, question on God and gods. Where are we? Tea Time. Tea Time, Tea Time. Tea Time. Are there examples? Asks Tea Time. Either in oral Torah or written Torah, Goyim can worship their own god or gods and be under King of Israel. So it isn't set in stone. Christians will have to forsake Jesus. First of all, Christians around the world, eventually it may come to that, I have no idea. Also, since I don't know the oral Torah or written Torah by heart, mine is obviously not the definitive answer. But I'll tell you, Kol ish yelech b'shem Elohav v'anachnu nelech b'shem Adonai Eloheinu. That is what, Joshua? I think that's Joshua. No, it might be... hold on. Let's see where it is. V'anachnu nelech, is it Psalms? Micha 4:5. Let's read the JPS. Hold on. Micha 4:5. Micha 4, chapter 4, verse 5 from the JPS Tanakh says. Where's the English? Here's the English. Though all peoples walk each in the names of its gods, we will walk in the name of the eternal, our God, forever and ever. The nations, the people, they go with their gods, we go with ours. I like that. I do indeed like that. Now, obviously, I'm reading it out of context. I'm giving it as an example for the Bible, not oral Torah or written Torah, but the Bible. As for the Torah, it doesn't say wipe out everybody and anybody who disagrees with you. It even says recently in the recent Torah portions, these people have their inheritance. Edom have theirs. Do not wage war on them. Do not instigate war. Moav, Ammon, you may not take their land without provocation. Do not be a provocateur. Do not start wars. You are not allowed. That was not meant for you. That was meant for them. Israel went around Edom. They did not attack. Even though Edom came to them with his armies, they just went whoop all around. Same with the others. And the Emori, right, Sichon and Og, the kings, them we could start a war with. But if we see it in Torah, it's like, no, we each have our inheritance. Eventually, we'll wind up in the same route. But we each have our own way, our own path, our own tradition, our own lore from days of yore. And the different nations go with theirs and we go with ours. I see it as fairly simplistic, perhaps, but simple nonetheless in that one verse. James Carlson says, dome of the firmament, right, so the firmament, right, and flat earth. Dome of the firmament, the earth is immovable, it sits on pillars, right. It does indeed sit on kind of spiritual pillars. I don't think physical ones. I think, for instance, right, the four corners of the earth corresponding with the four-letter name of God, and the four directions, and the four elements, and the four worlds. You can look at it as on pillars. You definitely can. Does it actually, factually, in the physical world sit on pillars? Let's grant that it is. What would be different? To you, James Carlson, what would be different to you, practically speaking, I suppose, other than being able to say, I told you so, and you would have earned it? What would change in your life if you knew for a scientific fact that the Earth is flat? I'm wondering, day to day, what would it change for you? Damian Phillips, would you respect my pronouns and call me a woman, even though I was born as a man? It depends entirely on the situation. Entirely on the situation. It's very circumstantial. So not absolutely, no, because if you asked me one-on-one, hey, what do you think? I would tell you what I think. I'd try to be respectful. As you said, respect my pronouns, but since I am of the opinion that a man born as a man can't be a woman, for me to call you that, it depends what's behind it, and it depends on the circumstances. But I suppose there are circumstances where I would go with it. What's the situation? Paint me a picture, tell me a scenario, and we'll be able to see. Brian Gilly, prove it. Nazarite or Nazarene? No, I am not from Nazareth. I am in Jerusalem, and I am a Nazarite, a Nazir. Nazarite, in Hebrew, Nazir. Martello modifies. Martello modifies? What is it that you modify? I'd love to know. Please share your lore. There are only two genders, end of debate, said Afterlife. Ever see a bull fuck a bull? No. Well, look, there's tons of homosexuality in the animal kingdom. A lot of examples. I don't think that that's really saying anything with the bulls. Rothschild, the Rothschilds, sir, your opinion of them. Okay, I haven't dug into the history of the Rothschild family, or Rothschild. Here's what I know. I don't know how they got their money, but I know that they were quite charitable. I know of the Baron Edmund de Rothschild, and that he was relatively good to the people of Israel, and before it was a state of Israel, of course. I know there's a great conspiracy around the Rothschilds. I know that there's an idea of them being like a cabal, so to speak, or in cahoots with the five families. No, in cahoots with other Jewish families. Somebody said 50. Somebody in the chat, I don't remember who it was, said if you take the money away from the 50 richest Jewish families, then all war and controversy will disappear from the world. I had something to say about it, of course, but yeah. So, I don't know much about it. So, elucidate, if you will. Clarify, please, your view, your opinion, your contention on the nature of the Rothschilds. Rothschilds are evil, says Afterlife. Ah, here we go. So tell me, Afterlife, why do you consider them to be evil? I'd love to know. BMXers. In Yisrael's laboratory lives the smartest Jew you've ever seen, but BDS blows his experiments to smithereens. There is doom and gloom and things are boom in Dexter's lab. They had a Dexter's Lab episode that was pulled. It was known as the swearing episode, the cursing episode, I don't remember. But it's very funny. It really is out of left field, especially if you watched it at the time. Sure, he had a temper, and Dee Dee as well, but there's also a lovely episode that me and my brothers, one particular brother actually, occasionally bring up, an episode where it's coffee, where you see the parents, right, Dexter and Dee Dee's parents, and they wake up and they're all, and then they take a sip of coffee and bing, they're awake and dressed and ready to go to work. It's fun. And then Dee Dee and Dexter drink coffee and they are all hyper. Wow, he's taking up for the Rothschilds. All I need to know. Taking up for the Rothschilds. Rothschild is a fake name, says Martello modifies. Okay. HN, please look back to my question about false messiahs, says Tea Time. Okay, searching, scanning. Okay. HN, he says, As you know, I've studied Judaism. I understand that there was false messiahs. Yes, all the time. In every generation, multiple of them. Multiple false messiahs. Are there ways to test this won't happen again? Tests to prevent it happening again? There's no test, but there's something which is written, but that Maimonides brings down and is in halacha, in the laws of kings and their wars. Hilchot melachim u'milchamotehim. He says, if there is a person, he basically says this: we don't know what will happen in the end of days. Those who are calculating it, may their spirit leave them. We are not meant to calculate the end of days. And if somebody comes and is a leader, if there is a man who rises and who unifies the people and who builds the temple, and you could argue he builds it, the people build it, it comes down built from the heavens, as some say. Either way, I'm good. And he vanquishes Amalek. And again, you can argue over the nature of Amalek. It's a people, it's a place, it's a person, it's an idea manifesting through people now. We do know the genealogy, we don't know the genealogy. If he does those three things, this is a potential Messiah for it, definitely. Chezkat Mashiach levadai. Right? He is held to be Messiah, even if he's not anointed yet. And even if he is not manifesting different things which are said of the Messiah in the prophecies, if he does those things, he could very well be considered an anointed one. Right? Fight the wars, vanquish Amalek, build... Hey, I said stop! Boys, one more time, and you're both going up to your room. One last time. This is a final warning. Now, move your legs over. Are you listening? Crown Prince, please move your legs back. Please move your legs. And don't do that. And when you do it again, you're going to bed. Yeah. All right. So, is there a test? I don't think there is a test. I mean, there is a test. If the King Messiah, if somebody claims to be Messiah, and they say, worship false idols, don't do it. If somebody says, we should all convert, don't do it. If he says things that... Well, let's leave it at that. Now, as for what might happen, which would make someone a contender for being Messiah, or that idea, right, of Messiah as a leader and a king, an anointed one, somebody who rallies the people, that's what, practically speaking, happens according to Maimonides, according to Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, the Rambam. He brings this down in the Yad Chazakah, right, in the Mishnah Torah, his corpus, his magnum opus of halacha. So yeah. Stoner's Code. Okay, tell me please, what is the Stoner's Code? Is it indeed a code? Like the bro code, or the hoe code, or the girl code, or other codes? Ariel says, people also think all Brits used to drink their tea with the Queen. Ha ha ha. Oi. What's up with that? No, that can go badly very quickly. Which God are we talking about? Well, how do you define God? Stoner's Code. So, you tell me. What's your idea of God? When I say God, what is it that comes to your? What is it that comes to your name? To your what comes to your mind? There is more than one God. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. BMXer says yes, better than converting to any religion. Convert to Bitcoin, says Martello. See, now you're using the old noggin. Convert to Bitcoin. Yes. Bong says, James Bong. The Rothschilds are a Jewish family named after a town near Frankfurt, Germany, yes, from where they lived. As most people did back then. Yes, of course.
James Bond is back.
Yes, James Bong is back. I'm paging.
How
Those religions only led my people to genocide. I'm paging or pagan? Which one are you? What is it?
You've been on an hour.
I've been on an hour, correct. Micha 6:8. He says, let's see, Micha 6:8 says Robert Harrison. 6:8. I'll do the English. Is this it? Yes. No? Here. You have been told, O mortal, what is good and what God requires of you, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk modestly with your God. Such sweet insights. Rivers of blood run through the entire Bible. Always so much war and blah. And then you get something like this, which is just be a frickin' good person. Be humble. Sit down. No, seriously. What is it that God asks of you? What does he ask? Justice, goodness. It's the essence of righteousness. Now, you can argue over the nature of goodness. It can go in a bad way. Justice, likewise, can go in a bad way. There are no absolutes in this world. You need to draw the line somewhere in everything and anything. But still, it's so sweet. Those words are so sweet. You are very right to put a heart next to it. Oh wait, I'm sorry. That wasn't a heart. I put it. It was. I thought I saw a heart next to it. But yes, indeed. Stoner's Code said Christian Catholics responsible for a mass genocide in Canada and America, still finding our ancestors and children forced into those places and deceived underneath those foundations. Land will occur. Still, those foundations land still occur. I'm assuming it's occur. Fact, our language and ways were considered as pagan by Christian and Catholic, and those who follow Christ. Yeah, the Christians, they persecuted others for a very, very long time, all over the world. And what do people say? There's no hate like Christian love. I could see how that might be the case. Now, however, I think that Christianity, in the wake of the Dark Ages, as it entered Enlightenment, I think Christianity seriously embraced emancipation and the Enlightenment and coming out of the darkness of the Dark Ages. I think Christianity did that in a big way, and in doing that ushered in Western society as we know it. At least that's how I would view history in like one sweeping motion. And there is a lot of merit to this way, which facilitates this type of progress. Again, can it go wrong? Can it go awry? Right off the rails? Yes. But I think it's also responsible for so many good things. And I wish and I hope and I pray that the good things will outweigh the bad things. And again, we will be able to create so much good and spread so much kindness in the world that we will be able to tilt the balance, to tilt the scales of creation itself in favor of that divine revelation that would eventually permeate everything, everyone, right? One consciousness, knowing God, each in our own way, because we are each a unique image of God, right? Just a specific reflection of a specific attribute in a specific way with different relationships between the various, sphirot of the tree of life. Stoner's Code says my uncle's 56 years old was taken into a clinic in Canada as a child by a pastor and nuns, and RCMP, Royal Canadian Military Police, I'm assuming, or mounted police, to have his genitals removed. What? He became a eunuch?
What's a eunuch?
Somebody who's had his testicles removed. Or was it castration? Or was it... No, you said genitals. Genitals plural. You mean the testicles and the penis. Oh, what's the name for this? It's not a eunuch. What is it? I forget. A eunuch is without the testicles.
But then it asked why.
I don't remember what it is. Oh my God, that is awful. Some people went involuntarily, some forced. Oh, went involuntarily, some forced. What, so they could take over and change the demographics? Yeesh, that's awful. Wait, I gotta plug in here. And I think that means that, wait, hold on. I might be able to continue broadcasting, pardon me. I might be able to continue broadcasting. Hang on, I need to plug in.
How much?
Wait, I need, where's the, okay, here it is. Let's see if I can plug in over here and still have a good angle. Maybe not. Wait, let's see. Forgive me. This usually doesn't happen, but I didn't plug in my... There we go. No.
Next time, do it from the start.
No, I need to be a bit more... a bit less headroom. Hang on. Fix that. Okay.
How about next time?
Good enough. Wait. Ugh. What's going on? Hang on.
Next time,
Hang on, I'll get this.
before you start live streaming.
No, I didn't know how long I would stay. Hold on, be patient. No, that's no good either. I'm running so low on battery. Okay, hang on. People, give me just a couple seconds more, and if I can't do it, I might have to say goodbye. Hold on. Come on. Okay, you know what? No. Here we go.
Okay, looks good.
Yes, okay, good enough. Good enough right now. Good enough for now. Wait, but that also means... Okay.
What?
No, I'll need to do this.
Tilt it a bit.
Tilt it a little bit. Hang on. No, that's no good now. Here we go. Okay, cool. I see no reason, says Ariel, why people should not follow sets of rules if they wish to. Right, I think... Right, it should be... It's better to have rules. What does Jeremiah say in Eicha? Tov lagever ki yisa ol b'ne'urav. It is good for a man to carry a yoke in his youth. And you could say, yes, he's talking about the yoke of Torah and commandments. It doesn't apply to everyone, but as an idea, as a verse, it's good to carry a burden. It's good to have a set of rules. You may be able to specify the rules, but it's good to follow some rules. What is it, baby?
I'm fluffy.
You're fluffy.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
You're just mad that I don't entertain your BS. Ooh, Brian, who are you fighting with here? I'm curious. Is there fighting? Are we having some feelings? What about the fighting? Tea Time says, asks, HN, in those days of Third Temple Olam Haba, that's not the same thing. Does King Mashiach have to be so-called religious chassid? Do you believe Queen of Sheba had children of the King Solomon? So yes, I think that Third Temple is different from Olam Haba, and Olam Haba and Third Temple are different from a monarchy. Because you can have a temple without a monarch. You can have a temple without a king. You can have a king without a temple. So, hold on a sec. And Olam Haba, as I see it, is already partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. And that's a whole different shift of consciousness. So, grouping those things, let's say, Mashiach, Olam Haba, and the temple. Lots of people do that. In the times of Messiah, when the temple is built, and there's deliverance, and then Olam Haba, I see those as three distinct things. It might be in a progression, but I don't know. I have my views on the Third Temple, on Olam Haba, and on Mashiach. So, does the Mashiach have to be so-called religious chassid? No. The king, right? The king who channels that divine revelation attribute of Malchut, right? Of that divine feminine presence. The king who manifests that is somebody who is... There are good kings and bad kings in the Bible, righteous kings and wicked kings. The King Mashiach that has to do with the days of the Third Temple and ushering in Olam Haba, what I would consider to be, if he's ushering in that Olam Haba, the final Messiah who will bring us and lead us to the gates of Eden, right? Then, right, to the path of the tree of life. That King Mashiach at that point, I don't know if he will be physical or not. Who's to say? That Messiah that will stand before the resurrection of the dead with taking away death and evil and eating from the fruit of the tree of life, will he be religious, as to quote you? No, I don't think he will be religious or a chassid. I think he will be a Hebrew king manifesting precisely what he ought to be, spontaneously, just like we learn as infants, right? We learn from our environment. We copy and we imitate. We crawl before we walk. We develop ourselves in a physical way. We learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn to think, we learn to make friends. And it's through a natural progression, biologically innate. In the same way, the king will feel it with every fiber and sinew of his being. This is what I need to do now. This is God's will at this moment. So religious? No. A chassid? No. He will simply be himself, manifesting that image of God in his unique way that never existed before and won't exist after, precisely like that, just like each and every one of us, right? Always remember that you're unique, just like everybody else. That's what I think of that. What do you think? Do you think the Mashiach will have to be religious? Do you think the Mashiach will be a chassid? Much love, Guy. Keep it real. Much love to you. Live long and prosper. Stoner's Code, thank you for being here. Hope you join again sometime. But keep on assimilating. Be good, little sheep. Stay in place, suppressed, depressed, institutionalized. This is the way, the only way. Incidentally, Leonard Nimoy got this from the blessing of the priests.
Got what?
The Vulcan salute. Birkat Kohanim.
So do that.
Bong says, James Bong, the Talmud suggests the Messiah will come before the year 6000 or 2240 in the Gregorian calendar. Yes, it's a cyclic thing, much like we have 6 days and 1 day of rest, 6 days of working in the land, and 1 day of a Sabbath, the Shemitah year, a Sabbath of the land, and we have 7 times 7 leading to the Jubilee of the 50th year. So it will be 2,000 years of Tohu, 2,000 years of Torah, 2,000 years of Geula, deliverance. And we are now on the cusp of the sun setting on the 6th day, so to speak. And we are supposed to very soon usher in that 7th day, corresponding to the Sabbath which never took place in Eden, also called Olam Haba. I asked Leonard Nimoy if he believed in life after death, Bloodnose says. Ella says, what if the teacher is everyone and everything? That's what I'm saying. Everyone and everything will be manifesting that divine energy with no filters and with no misunderstandings, to put it as Sneezer put it. Right? According to Sneezer, sins are all misunderstandings, and people are always misunderstanding each other. There won't be any misunderstanding. It will be plain and clear. So yes, everyone and everything. Right? Even mikir tizak. Right? The stone from the wall will shout, will call. We will be able to see, you know how when Neo awakens after he's shot by Smith, and he sees the code that makes up the Matrix, and he is able then to manipulate it, and everything comes so easily to him, and everything is smooth and fluid, and he's able to awaken others. In the very same way, we, Messiah, if you're asking about Messiah, will be able to see the world in that sort of way, with all of the, right down, let's say, to the subatomic particle, right, and string shaped like the Hebrew letters. We will be able to perceive in some way those Hebrew letters that exist in every material thing, in every living thing, in the spiritual beings. Let's put it that way. HN says Tea Time, so any Mashiach of Israel could be of any branch of Judaism, and even be a tree-hugging, herb-smoking Hebrew. Well, again, if he does, physically speaking, what Mashiach is supposed to be doing, or even before that, if Israel come together and agree to anoint and crown a single individual, give him authority, the sacred authority of the kingship, and become a kingdom of Israel again, unified. Sure, it's the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, but unified nonetheless in their ideas and their the way they lead their lives, let's say, right? We will be closely cohesive. There wouldn't be the division, right? There wouldn't be that infighting. If we could let go of that and crown a proper king and become a kingdom again, that could suggest a whole lot of things manifesting as well in the wake of that, right? After the coronation. If there's a king of Israel again, that says a lot, and that means a lot. So, if the people choose as one, let's say, to anoint and crown a tree-hugging, herb-smoking Hebrew of any branch, of any tribe that it might be, that person is the king. Yes. Traditionally, some say that a messenger, a prophet points it out. Doesn't have to happen that way. I don't think it necessarily has to happen that way. I think if the people anoint a king, right, Som tasim alecha melech, you will put a king. It doesn't say the prophet will choose the king. It says you will put a king, right, from your brothers. That's what Moses tells them. That's wonderful, says James Bong. Can't wait for the third temple in the Messiah. Yeah, right. What did they say in the Talmud? One opinion. I'd love it to be there in the days of Messiah. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Jim says, hello, Jim. The Messiah fulfilled the law. Why put yourself back under it? Well, I'm not putting myself back under it. I grew up Orthodox religious in Jerusalem, right, modern Orthodox, so I'm still under it. But I suppose, yes, every day when the sun rises and I take a breath, right, and I go out for a walk with the doggy and exchange a few words with the Most High, then I take it upon myself and go back under that stone of the Hebrew law each and every day. So yeah. Why? Because I believe that it is up to me to fulfill my end of the bargain. My end of the law was not fulfilled by somebody else. So Christians and followers of Jesus say that the covenant is already null and void, but the covenant is alive and kicking over here. Love it, says Ella. Hit the like button, but you don't have to. I appreciate every like, every sub, every view. I appreciate every, you watching now, you watching later. I've been on for almost an hour and 20 minutes-ish.
10 likes.
Thank you, my dear. I appreciate that.
Glitch.
No, my dear, that's simply because of the screen.
Yeah, it looks a bit like a glitch.
Yes, a little bit. I don't take it for granted. You take time out of your busy day, your schedule. You people have lives. For some weird reason, here you are with me, and I genuinely appreciate it. It's so much fun to engage with you, to learn from you, to glean those pearls of wisdom.
For some weird reason, you're doing it.
The reason for me doing it is not weird at all, in my opinion.
Is that a weird reason?
But it could be it's a weird reason to some, definitely.
You're doing it for them to watch.
No. Because in the first few months, nobody was watching.
Yeah. And your first count was Eiler.
I don't think so, but maybe. Okay, let's see. Tea Time says, HN, I've met a lot of so-called religious people, Jewish and Christian, who say if a person uses herb, this person can't please God or be seen as righteous or godly. Please share your thoughts. Dude, you know my thoughts on herb. The thoughts on herb primarily are that depending on how you use this plant and whether or not you show it respect, that will manifest how you carry it throughout your life. I think that without any doubt whatsoever, if there was ever an absolute, and I do not speak in absolutes, but if there was ever an absolute other than the Most High, it would be this. A person who uses herb can definitely be righteous and godly as any Joe or Joette. It's all about how we behave. How we behave. That's what it comes down to, what we do. What we do. As for pleasing God, that is also, I think, nonsense, because that would mean that the person is presuming to know the mind of God. And even if you say, yes, they're basing it on verses, I will say, okay, what about the story of creation? Right? All of the herbs are ours to use and make use of. So the ball's in their court after that. HN says, Sneezer, your thoughts on Caiaphas. Well, first I'll have to see what Caiaphas is. I don't know what it is. Could you enlighten me, please? What is Caiaphas? Do share. I do not know what Caiaphas is. I'll look it up quickly just now, just to get an idea. Caiaphas Cain? No, that looks like a video game. Caiaphas. What? Who is Caiaphas? Who is Caiaphas? What is he in Hebrew? Hang on a second. I'll know it in Hebrew. What is it? It doesn't say his name in Hebrew. Caiapha is, yes, Caiapha. Okay. Caiapha, doesn't that mean, well, never mind. Okay. I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on him.
Check who is Caiaphas.
I don't have any thoughts on him because it doesn't ring any bells. Maybe if I read it in Hebrew. Hold on a second. Caiapha. Yosef. Hold on. Yosef bar Caiapha HaKohen HaGadol b'Yerushalayim. So it says in the first half of the 1st century of the Common Era. So he was there right at the end. He was there right at the end. My thoughts? Here are my thoughts. I know that towards the end of the dynasty of the Chashmonaim, the priesthood was sometimes bought with money. And towards the end, before Rome destroyed the Second Temple, the priesthood just went to the dogs. One could make the argument that it always was there. Fair enough. I don't think that, but okay. But it truly, really went to a bad place. The Talmud speaks of things that happened 40 years or 80 years before the destruction. 40 years before the destruction of the temple. One example that comes to mind is that when the high priest, speaking of high priests, on the Holiday of Atonement, right, there would be a lot. There would be 2 pieces of wood, and on one would be written L'Adonai, and on the other would be written La'azazel, and the 2 goats, the Chatat, the sin offering, 2 goats, and the Kohen Gadol would randomly open up his right hand and then his left hand. And whichever one had the name, as opposed to Azazel, the name Adonai, whichever one there had the name, the Kohen in charge would say, "My Lord, High Priest, raise your right hand or your left hand, respectively," wherever the name was, to make the hand higher than Azazel. Throughout most of the First Temple and the Second Temple, the name would always be on the right hand of the priest. The priesthood represents the right hand, Chesed. The high priest represents that place where Chesed and Bina, Chesed and Dat, if you will, where they meet. A higher emanation, a higher revelation. And as such, the kind of atonement that is able to be brought down into creation on that day is, well, it doesn't exist in any other day in the Hebrew calendar. So, when you would, 40 years before the destruction, meaning from 30 AD or CE, from 30 CE until 70 CE when Rome destroyed the temple, the name of Adonai would come up on the left hand, and Azazel would be on the right hand. And so he would lift his left hand with the name. Left hand, giving the left hand dominion. And that was supposed to signal to the people of Israel, something is shifting. It is not, God's name is not on the right hand. That will not be higher. Now it's the left hand that has God's name, that is working through God. The left hand is judgment, vengeance, vengefulness, wrath, narrowness, right? Straits. And for the left hand to be elevated, that was a sign. So I'm just giving an example there of the time of that Kohen Gadol. I don't know anything about him, but if he was in the first half of the 1st century, it means that that's precisely what was going on. That signs were being everywhere, and also on the Holiday of Atonement. But I'm sure there were many other signs as well. That was just one example. And so to be the high priest then, meaning it could be that you bought it with money, it could be that you were a tzdoki and not of the Orthodox, right, rabbinic or Pharisaic, if you will, sect. And it was already a time with a lot of criticism of the priesthood, but I don't know anything about him personally, just a little bit about the nature of the time at the time. Herb, says Tea Time, herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything, says, quoting Bob Marley, quoting Robert Nesta Marley. Yes, herb is a plant. Don't outlaw a plant. Don't outlaw mushrooms. That is not good at all.
Mushrooms?
You want to do something that's, you want to outlaw things that are synthetic, made in a lab. I don't know about that, but I'm not in a position of power. What do I know? It's been that way, and it's kind of a consensus in some ways. But herb and mushrooms, no. Robert Harrison, HN, what is the captain of temple? Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know what you mean by captain of the temple, but there was the Rosh Beit Av, meaning that when there were the different groups, right? When you were a priest or a Levite, and this is primarily at the time of the second temple, but also, no, the first and second temple, actually. There were 24 different groups of Israelites, Levites, and priests. And in the times of the temple, you would be called to serve twice a year for a week. And you had somebody of your house, right? It was your house that was called. For instance, right, you have families and you have clans, right? And that's your house, right? That family that's associated to a specific clan. Now, with the children of Aaron, it's because it's not like Levi, right? Levi has Gershon, Kehat, Merari, 3 clans, but the priests have Aaron and they have families, what's called a Beit Av. And the Rosh Beit Av, or the Memuneh, the one in charge, he would be the one who would oversee that week's ritual worship, either that, right, from that house, from the head of that house. The priest who was the head of the house that was worshiping and working in the temple that week, he would be the captain for that week. Also, it could be that the captain of the temple was not somebody who changed every week, but it was somebody who was either the deputy high priest, the Sgan, as he's known, or the Memuneh, because they had different priests which were in charge of different things. For instance, I told the story of the Mishnah that speaks of the gates that were guarded by the Levites, and there was a priest that would patrol the different gates and see who's slagging off and who's asleep and who's and who's alert, and who he would call out, hello to you, and if he didn't get a hello back and the Levite was asleep, he could beat him with a stick and even burn his clothing. Yeah, it's true. That's what the Mishnah says. He had permission to do it. It doesn't mean he did it. Oh, the Mishnah goes on to say that occasionally there would be a voice and people would say, what's going on? And it's like, oh, it's just a Levite beaten a bit with a stick for falling asleep at his post.
Sounds
Yeah.
wrong.
It sounds wrong, but if you need to guard the place. Now, the guard, by the way, the guard of the temple was an honorary guard. It wasn't for fear of enemies, burglars, people barging in. It was an honorary guard, the Levitical guards, right? The Levitical guard, the Levitical choir, Yehovah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I let him, dude. I let him. HN says Tea Time. If wanted to burn incense sticks at home, as a Hebrew, can you? Is there any Jewish law saying you can't? This is a difference of opinion. Some say because you can't burn incense in the temple, you ought not burn any incense. Some say because you can't make you are not allowed to produce the temple incense, the same incense at the temple, right? The 11 herbs and spices, and expertly created by the house of Avdinas. Speaking of priestly houses, the house of Avdinas knew a certain herb that they would put in a bit of, and the smoke would rise in the shape of a pillar, right up. And other priests could not do that. Other houses of priesthood could not do that, and the Avdinas would not share their secret. Now, I'm sorry, we were talking about the priesthood, but now I don't remember. Oh, Caiaphas and the priesthood, right, okay. I think that's how we got to that. Let's continue here in the chat. Oh, wait. Yes, let's continue here in the chat. Ella says plants are the other half of our lungs. Without plants, no oxygen. Yes, we live in a symbiosis.
Is it illegal to date your boss?
Depending on the company. Some companies frown on it and some discourage it, and for some it's completely prohibited, and some say, no, that's fine, do it.
That's prohibited.
Prohibited means it's not allowed.
As a doctor, you go doctor.
It depends on the establishment, man. I have no idea. There's no set rule. I don't know. It depends on the nature of the times. But, yes, it does. It definitely should. Things need to be clear. Things need to be clear in such a document. Okay, let's see. Are you clean and sober? What do you mean by clean and sober? Raoul Foucan, please elaborate, elucidate. What do you mean by clean and sober? The old way of reading comments is better. This way loses too much, says Bloodnose. All right. I'll tell you what, from tomorrow, I think, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Friday. Well, who knows? I might broadcast tomorrow. Not that I'm saying goodbye now. Wow, it's been an hour.
Let's do a short.
It's been an hour and a half, but on a short, there's no comment, there's no live chat. There's no, these two things, I wonder whatever will be of them. These never dreaded up.
It looks like a pony.
Yeah, these never dreaded up, and they're just hanging out here. I think at some point these might fall down. I don't know about the rest of my hair.
I've never noticed.
I think these might fall down. I hope they won't. I like them.
I never noticed because it's in back.
Yeah, it's usually like this. Sometimes it comes forward. It's like two little horns. Here, look. Wait. I wanted to do my... Never mind. Let's not do that. Tea Time says, HN, but there isn't anything strictly restricting you from burning incense sticks at home. Right, that's what I was talking about, the priesthood and the incense. Incidentally, another bit of lore for you from the Mishnah. Because the people and the priests and the houses would change, it means that different priests got to do different things at different times, and different worship and different ritual worship. And so there was one thing which a priest was allowed to do only once, a regular mundane priest, not the high priest. The high priest could do whatever he wanted at any given moment. He could say, oh, I'm doing that now, I'm sacrificing this now, I'm doing this, that, or the other. If I'm not mistaken, the high priest had that prerogative. However, a regular, ordinary priest of a random, priestly house in Israel who came to serve, he may only be allowed once in his life to burn the incense. Because the incense was something that was physically and materially enriching, giving you prosperity and health and wealth and life in a good way, then they would draw lots. In the beginning, the memuneh, the captain of the temple, they would draw 4 lots throughout the day. I think the third one, is it the second one? No, it was the third one, I think. The third one was, whoever hasn't burned incense yet, all you priests who are serving now, this house this week, whoever has not burned the incense yet in their life, come up, we're going to draw a lot. And what would they do? They would stick out a finger, and they were not allowed to stick out their thumb. They would stick out a finger, some finger that's not their thumb, and they would take one of the priest's hat. They would stand in a circle around the captain, or the one in charge of that household for that week, and he would take one of the priest's hats. Right, the priestly garb had a hat, a mitznefet, and he would take it and he would start counting randomly, or seemingly randomly. And the priest on which he would stop or reach the number, that priest would be the one to light the incense that day. And then he was not allowed to do it again.
How much were they?
How many were they?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming it was always a bunch of priests that wanted to go and light the incense. It could also very well be that some priests didn't want to.
Then each one a day.
Are you Jewish? Yes, I am. I am Jewish. I am of the kingdom of Judah and of Judea, but not the tribe of Judah. Okay, but specifically incense sticks in your home. Yes, I do. I love incense. I'll tell you what. If there was an incense that I saw on the package, had the 11 herbs which comprise or are thought to comprise the temple incense, that I would not burn. I would not burn that. And even if you tell me, no, it's different quantities, it's not the same because the quantities are written. And it's not the same and it wasn't made for ritual worship, then you can, but no, I would want that incense to be set apart and consecrated for ritual worship. So, until it's allowed, it might be at some point, until it's allowed, I think that to make that particular incense, I wouldn't want to burn it. Other incense, definitely, bring it on. I also like burning sage. Ija Levi, hey, hello! Thanks for answering my question in email about 12-year Nazarite. Hey, it's been, that was quite an email. That was quite a journey. And I'm happy that I could help, if I did help. What do you think about astrology, he asks. I believe, if you will, what is to believe, but I follow, let's say, Hebrew astrology, which is very different from the astrology in the paper. Oh, you're a Cancer, so this and this and that. It's kind of different. Yeah, for sure. So I think that astrology is something which has a place. It's the Hebrew astrology. I don't know about the other astrology. The Hebrew astrology has its place, but nevertheless, it should not be something that you should base anything on, at least usually. Astrology and the movement of the stars, the planets, our place in the universe, it can have an effect. But it's on you to either draw positive energies from it, from the relationship and the alignment, your birth chart, or to take it in a bad way and have negative influences. And either way, it's something that might come at the beginning or end of a proper teaching, but it's nothing that I would found, that I won't, generally speaking. It's something which can complete a teaching, a thought, a concept, and give you something to sort of buttress it and give you another element, another layer.
Almost 2 hours.
But not something you can base anything on, really. That's what I think about astrology, about Hebrew astrology as well. The 12, the 12 signs and the zodiac and the movement of the planets, and they correspond with the 12 tribes and with the 12 months and with the 12 names of God, and they correspond to a lot of things. Tea Time says, HN, but Jewish courts haven't specifically said anything on incense sticks. Right? Incense sticks come in cinnamon and frankincense and sandalwood. I think that there's an opinion in halacha, and I don't know if it was actually made and codified into halacha, but I think that there is at least one opinion that says, not a Talmudic one, not a Mishnaic one, of recently, I would think, in the last few hundred years, the Achronim, the last ones, as it's known. I think that there is an opinion that says that you should not light any incense because it might have been created for foreign idol worship. That would be the reason. Nothing to do with the incense in the temple, but having to do with why that incense was made. So if it was made by a Hebrew man in a kosher way, maybe then that opinion would be null and void. Maybe it would have no place. But I think, what is it? זה לא כזה חשוב כפרה עליך. You just need to make it into normal text instead of a headline of some kind. Raul Foucan says, I love Israel. Israel, fuck Palestine and Gaza. No. We should have peace. We're not looking to nobody. No. Hamas should surrender, put down their weapons, release the hostages, disarm all of themselves, all of the terrorists, disarm, surrender to the IDF, and the war is over tomorrow. HN says, okay, but specifically, I'm sorry, I read that one. What? Wait, Robert says, you never have broadcast on a Saturday evening. Really?
Because that is...
Never have I done that on a Motzai Shabbat. That is interesting. What is it, my man? Like this with the tab. I just did. And Shift Tab returns it one back. And it's called a bullet point. Yes. Okay. Kephas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. Oh, so in the New Testament, I'm assuming, you know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation. You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that whole nation. Well, that kind of echoes, of Ha'ish echad yechta ve'al kol ha'edah tikzof in the story of Korach, Aaron and Levi, Aaron and Moshe, and what they say to the divine revelation that's speaking to them. One man sins, and you're angry at everybody. Ija Levi says, have you heard about the 72 angels, Shema Meforash thoughts? Well, they are not angels. They're 72 triple names. My thoughts? My thoughts are that the 72-letter name of God is something that's very, very, its root is a very high root. And where it manifests here in the Torah is a very miraculous sort of thing. Right? And Vayisa, Vayavo, Vayet. It's 3 verses, each with 72 letters. Right? When Moses splits the sea. And I don't know what you mean by 72 angels. I don't precisely know what you mean by Shem HaMeforash, because there's a difference of opinion on what Shem HaMeforash is, though many do consider it to be the 72, right? Shem Ayin Bet, the 72 names of God. Shem Ayin Bet corresponds with Yod Hei Vav Hei when it's spelled out with Yodin, because it can be with Yod, it can be with Vav, it can be with Aleph, it can be with Yod, Aleph, or Hey, and it corresponds to different names and different gimatriot and ways of where divinity manifests in the tree of life. So my thoughts are that I would love to get my act together so much, to such a degree, even though I'm so screwed up, that I would be able to harness the 72-letter name of God in truth, with humility, and that it will be able to help me along my path. And it's the 72-letter name of God, and the way that it's manifested through the verses, it's what's called Yashar ve'Hafuch ve'Yashar. When the 72 names, for instance, from the first verse you go start to finish. In the second verse, it's finish to start, and then on the third verse, start to finish. And those I won't get into, but it kind of means, right, that going in and out, top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom. It's something which has to do deeply with life here in this world. It's a very, very high and mighty revelation, and I hope to merit it. I hope to be able, Lord knows how, that I will be able to channel names like that and be able to not use the name, but simply to harness its energies, to really try to embody all of those. Do you support your Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Raoul Foucan asks. Well, I haven't voted in about 20 years, and I think politics is a dirty game and I stay away from it. But since he is the Prime Minister, I don't support some of what he's doing, but let's put it this way. I think there ought to be elections. But again, I have a very narrow mind and a very small mind at that, and I don't know much about the nature of the politics and the region as it's manifesting now politically. So do I support him? I support him insofar as I am only a citizen, a civilian, and I support a leader who is fighting a war. That's how I support him. No more, no less. I don't think I've ever voted for him. And if I did, it was 20 years ago. Paula Harrison, Jonathan, I finally looked to the cookie. It was delicious. Good for you. The black and the white living side by side. Look to the cookie, Elaine. Look to the cookie. I'm happy about that. Did you enjoy it? 360 divided by 72 is 5, which makes 365 days a year. That's very nice. See, the numerals and the different ways of contriving, if you will, or placing this with that, 360, right, with 5. That's something which could be a great way to start a teaching or end a teaching, but I don't think I would base anything on that tidbit, right, of 360 divided by 72 is 5, and together, right, when the division and the standalone, it's 365. Gotta love the sign. Hate the Drake. Do you support Israel? Says Madi Choyaka. Well, I live in Israel. I am Israeli. I don't support everything the government does, and I don't support everything that the military does, but definitely now when there is a war going on, yes, I support Israel unequivocally, 100%, and I still think that it's a war where we need to keep some semblance of humanity and listen to the international law experts in Tzahal. Hello, are you gay-friendly? Well, what do you mean by gay-friendly? What do you mean by friendly? Am I happy and friendly? Yours New. Hello, Yours New. Good to see you here, man. Good to see you. So yes, do I support Israel? Yes, but I do also support the fact that there are people here who were around before the foundation of the modern-day state of Israel. They also have a claim to where they are from and their lands, and I would love nothing more than to live side by side with those people. I support Palestine. I come from Palestine. Assalamu alaikum. Marhaba. What is it? Okay, well, good. I'm glad you support Palestine. Obviously, if you come from there, you support there. Please look back to my comments on Sage. Shalom, Yours New. Shalom, shalom. What is new, Yours? Wait, so Tea Time had a comment on Sage. Let's see. HN, Sage is used by Wicca and occult New Age. Jewish law might restrict Sage for burning. In any strict interpretation of the law, not burning would Goyim burn to idols. No, it's definitely cool to burn herbs. It's definitely cool to burn herbs. Well, yes. I mean, it goes back to the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire. They burned sage in order to purify. Right, what's sage? Marva, if I'm not mistaken. So no, I don't think there's anything pagan about it. Do you speak Yiddish? No, I don't speak Yiddish. The last in my family right now to speak Yiddish were my grandparents. Ariel Marshall says, I don't like the new chat handling. I see the point in avoiding some comments, but it lacks the conversation continuity. Yes, it lacks the continuity because I keep skipping. So yeah, I think next week, Sunday, God willing, 9 p.m. Jerusalem time, I'll go back to reading and addressing things one by one, and starting maybe with Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, because I didn't get to finish either one of those. I am so blessed. This is such a frickin' awesome blessing that I get to sit here with you good people, and I have so much of a backlog of comments, of trolls, and of chat messages to comb through and go through and address. It's lovely. I deeply appreciate it. I don't know how many of you people out there have your own channel, have your own voice, you get on the horn, you publish something, you live stream, you have a podcast, you create something, whether it's with any one of your senses and send it out into the world. I don't know how many of you people do that. But to get feedback like this, and to be in close contact, let's say, temporally speaking, if you will, with such people and such ideas as you lot represent, it's really lovely. And I'm loving the connections that are being made here in these chats. I really, really do. What's your point on Zionism? Yours New, unfortunately, I gave my point of view on Zionism on many videos and earlier in this live stream, because I've been on for, wow, 1 hour and 50 minutes, 50, almost 2 hours. Oh, 2 hours. And it's so much fun. I don't know how many of you people do this, send yourself out into the world in the way that you can, but It's so lovely. It's so enlivening. Thank you for sharing. Hebrew Nazarite, you are great, my friend. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I do. HB, I'm assuming you mean HN. Tea Time asks, what are some vegan restaurants near you? Well, there are, vegan restaurants as such. I don't go to many restaurants, so I have no idea. But some vegan restaurants near me. Someplace that's vegan. Are there any vegan places here in the area? I don't think. Yeah, the falafel. Yeah, we have a falafel store a few minutes away, like 10 minutes on foot. So that's a vegan restaurant, but it's a falafel joint. It doesn't have shawarma. Sneezer says, yours new. In short, there are two Zionisms, one spiritual, one very dark, LOL. My grandfather got kicked out in 1948, says Madi, and I don't have the right to return. Okay. I hope that the terrorist militant organizations that call themselves Palestinian freedom fighters, I hope that they will disarm, release the hostages, end the war, surrender. I know, not very cool, but yes, surrender. And we will be able to negotiate what it means to return. We will be able to eventually live side by side and be, if not good pals, and I would like that too, but if not good pals, then just bitter enemies that are completely segregated. And that's the lesser of the two. Definitely. You're getting too popular to interact with us personally anymore, says Ariel Marshall. Bwahahaha. Paula says, Jonathan, you and your family need to come to North Carolina for a visit. Y'all would love it. Are there any kosher restaurants? Are there any vegan restaurants? Because I eat in vegan restaurants abroad. Yours new says, there is always one who overkills, ruins the party for everybody. I'm not sure if you're referring to someone before. You should take Paula's invite, very friendly there, says Sneezer. Ha ha ha. Was Jürgen Mollman killed by Mossad? I don't know who that is, unfortunately. I am ignorant. Please tell me, who is Jürgen Mollman? Molleman. I don't know who that is. Palestine makes new Hitler to destroy Israel. New Hitler? Is that what it says? To destroy Israel, be careful. A German politician, I see. No, I don't know who that is, sorry. Was he killed by Mossad? No idea. As for new Hitler, I don't think it's necessarily Palestine. I think that there are good, hardworking, innocent civilians out there that consider themselves Palestinian that wouldn't want any Hitler. Not now, not ever, not here, not there, not anywhere. I do not want them, Sam I am. So I do know that a lot of the population of Gaza is still very much in favor of Hamas, according to polls. I don't know the sources, don't ask me, but it's always been that way since they were elected. And maybe they're just afraid of being killed and tortured. Could be, could very well be. But you gotta rise up. You gotta rise up. You gotta do something. This can't continue this way. And if they are indeed supporting them, and if they are indeed supportive of the Al-Aqsa flood of October 7th, and if they do indeed want to see them happen again and again, because let's not forget the second and third wave, if there was a third wave of... Oh, sorry, I'm live again. There was a glitch. There was a glitch, but now I'm live again. If, those Gazans, if it's most of them that way, that came in and pillaged and plundered and raped and murdered, then no, there's no living with those people. There's no living with them. Tea Time asks, HN, if you were, I think this will be the last question that I will address here right now. HN, if you were to go to synagogue for bar mitzvah or services for yourself or your sons, where would you go? Conservative or modern Orthodox? I would go modern Orthodox. But if my boys, or if my woman, or if my family wanted to have egalitarian seating, then I would definitely be able to be flexible with that and go to a conservative or reform or reconstructionist, whatever basically almost any sect, and be there with my family and pray. And if it were up to me, it would be egalitarian in different ways, not necessarily sitting side by side, but I would go. Initially, I would go modern Orthodox, but if my family wanted to go somewhere else, I wouldn't mind going somewhere else. I don't think I would. Bloodnote says, polls are not real, it's only the people willing to participate. Right, which is why I say I don't know the source, and it could be wrong. Mahdi says, for me, Hamas, Houthis, or Hezbollah are not terrorist organizations. Yes. There are thousands of Palestinian hostages in the hands of Israel. Okay, you know what? Riddle me this, Mahdi. I don't like debating, but riddle me this. If the Palestinians are poor and oppressed, and they are by Hamas and Hezbollah, but if you claim it's by Israel, why did Jordan not declare a Palestinian state until 1967? Why did Egypt not declare a Palestinian state until 1967? They controlled East Jerusalem and that whole east side. They controlled the Gaza Strip and that entire area. Why was there no Palestinian state? The Palestinians were still Palestinians. According to you people, the Nakba, the Holocaust, was 1948. So that would mean that from 1948 to 1967, any single day of any single year would have been peachy keen and fine to declare a Palestinian state and give everyone the right to return who wants to return. So please tell me how terrorist organizations are hostages when all Israel did was conquer it from the same people who didn't give you a land then. Because, I know you hate to hear it, there are people in Gaza, in the West Bank. We should treat them better, and we should be their neighbors, not enemies. That's how it should be. Unfortunately, this is not a possibility right now. Maybe it will become one in the future. I'd love for it to become one in the future. But right now, the hostages in the hands of Israel, really? Think about that. On that note, I'm going to say goodbye from Jerusalem. Thank you so much. Let's have a wonderful weekend. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow for a broadcast, or maybe for a short. I don't know.
Maybe
Not now.
for 2
Not now,
hours.
not now. No, dude, no, come on. I thank you. Many blessings from here, from Zion, Al-Quds, right? The Holy, Urushalim. Hello, Quran time. Do you know Anne Frank? I don't know her personally. But I used to live in Amsterdam, so yes. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from their oppressors, the Islamist, terrorist sons of... Free them from actual, yes, free them from that. And may we know peace. Hamas needs to surrender, return the hostages, the war will be over, and we'll go back to negotiating some peace. On that note, Laila Tov, good night from Jerusalem. God willing, see you next week.